Dobrodošli u Podcast Mrežnica. Naš današnji gost je gospodin Eugen Kuhn. Amerikanac je čije analize i jasnoće razmišljanja mnoge ostavljaju bez daha. Američki je veteran, sudionik Zaljevskog rata i dobitnik Brončane zvijezde. Čovjek koji je shvatio kako rat funkcionira, pa otišao iz te iste američke vojske u kojoj ga je čekala sjajna karijera. Danas je geopolitički analitičar, pisac, čovjek koji savjetuje mnoge političare, ekonomiste, ali i dobro nam poznate svjetske zvijezde. Gospodin Kuhn živio je u 10-ak zemalja diljem svijeta, a njegova priča, vjerujem, ostavit će vas bez daha. A onda naravno i njegova razmišljanja o životu, ali i o svemu što nam se na geopolitičkoj razini trenutno događa. Gospodin Kuhn trenutno živi u Turskoj i dio svog dragocjenog vremena upravo je posvetio našem podcastu. Eugen Kuhn. Hi Steven, good to have you with us today. Welcome to our podcast.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here.
Let's start things off with the everyday life of the average European. We expect wars, we face inflation. Who is responsible?
Who's responsible? It's simple. Well, it's not simple actually. Put it this way: we can look at the European heads, right? The European Union, the puppets, government puppets who run a government that has nobody, no flag, nobody that's honorable to them. They are made there just to remove the sovereignty from each nation. So we allow that to happen. That's number one. That the citizens allow that to happen. Number two is, now that it's in place, we're facilitating it because everyone who works in that system, whether it's an analyst, a secretary, or a actual political leader, they do their little part to make sure that it stays afloat. So we can point at the big bad people. We can point at Ursula von der Leyen and all these Merz and Macron, but the people under them, that's the danger. And here's why it's so difficult to root that out, is because people's livelihoods are tied to their job, their career. So if they would speak up, they lose their job, they lose their money. That means they lose their house, maybe their family. And so it's called weaponized debt. So they weaponize what you owe in order to keep you compliant with little pieces of the big puzzle. And for me, that's the biggest danger. Sure, we can call out, von der Leyen for being a criminal, which she is, proven. We can call out, the election problems in Romania and now Moldova and in Poland, and half globalist, half not globalist, the little playgrounds from Alex Soros and all these things that they do. But they're the ones at the top. Everyone else under below in that pyramid, they're enabling this. So we need to blame ourselves, don't we? We need to work on ourselves. And that's why I always say we need to start at the bottom, the foundation of each person in your family, in your community.
Speaking about wars, who wants them?
Who wants the wars? Well, I think that's easy. The globalists want that, I guess if you say wars are, it's profit and manipulation. It has nothing to do with hate. Oh, I hate Putin, I hate this guy. It's all about profit and manipulation. And the real casualty is always truth. And, the change can only begin when morality isn't outsourced to governments. We always look to our governments, we look to our leaders to say, what should we do? And then one leader says to the other, do this or we're going to attack. And if they don't, then back and forth. And we are played as citizens. Who wants the war? Military industrial complex. The European Union needs war right now to stay afloat because they're economically basically in the basement and they're dying right now. Germany's trying to rise up again economically as the ex-powerhouse of the European Union. They're looking for the defense contracts to move forward as well. So right now, it's a European Union, it's an military industrial complex, including America.
So are we dancing on the brink of the war? Or
I would say yes. It won't take much. It definitely won't take much for something to break out. I mean, look, if we look, Ukrainians are tired. My wife's Ukrainian from.
Yes, I know.
Ukrainians are tired. They just want peace, even if it means some kind of compromise, right? And then you have Eastern Ukrainians that grew up speaking Russian. The us versus them, that's a media-made story, right? And then war fatigue, of course, is real. And people are craving stability now over ideology. The ideology is by all of the Ukrainian flags are disappearing from social media. People are sick of it. But peace will only come when global interests stop profiting from conflict And even if it's just rhetoric, like you hear about the Tomahawk missiles going to Ukraine, there's no Tomahawk missiles in Ukraine. There are none there. I guarantee it. I confirmed it. But they talk about it just to get the other side all riled up and ready to go. We have to go. We have to go. And we keep feeding into this. And whenever someone stands up and says something like I do, the truth, then of course you get called a Putinist or a sympathizer or all these kind of things. And I can just tell you this. I don't care if you're Putin. I don't care if you're von der Leyen. I don't care if you're Matz. It doesn't matter to me, President Trump or whatever. If you're telling the truth and you're doing what's good, I'll give you all the accolades you need. I don't support one way or the other. You're either doing it right and you're honest or you're not. It's as simple as that. I don't care who you are.
Your wife, you said, she's Ukrainian. What is happening there right now? What is the general mood among the people?
When they say war fatigue, that's no joke because you get used to it. If you can imagine, when I was in war, the first time we had an attack, it was very scary. Second time, a little bit. The third time, I didn't even pay attention. It just happens. In the background, there's bombs going off and explosives and rockets and things. And that's sort of what's happening. I was with a colleague in Italy, and he brought his girlfriend from Ukraine as well. And she still lives in Kharkiv. And they were on FaceTime, and a rocket fell in behind her. And she didn't even flinch. She didn't even flinch. It was like, oh, there's another rocket. That's what's happening. It's a shame because people are getting used to war. People are still dying. People are still scared. People are still being pulled off the streets to fight. They're running out of people. They're now, conscripting older men and pregnant women to join the military. It's out of control.
What do you think? How will the war end?
How will it end?
Yes.
Well, there's so many things that happened to get us here. And there's so many things that are happening now to try to get us out of here. But it's not what it looks like on the cover. So let's say, for instance, when Zelensky went to the White House and Trump kicked him out. That was a show. I just found out the other day. I confirmed it. It took me a long time to confirm it, but I confirmed it was a show. It was an act to get Putin to come to the table because Putin wasn't coming to the table at the time. So sometimes what we see is happening isn't really happening. But I think what's going to take it to end is people are just going to stop being a part of the machine. And I don't know, there was weapons. There's, the biggest shortage in Ukraine are the 155 millimeter artillery shells. Right. So when the war started, I had friends asking me if I could source them. And I was like, I'm not going to get involved. But I know they were looking everywhere and they couldn't find them. And there was a plant in America that just got a contract, and like $1 billion contract to supply these artillery shells. And it just completely got wiped off the face of the earth a couple of days ago. It literally was disintegrated. Somehow it completely burned down, and the entire contract is now nil. So someone doesn't want those shells going to Ukraine. And that happened in America. So where did that come from? I don't know. So there's forces at play here that we don't know what's going on. Then you have, of course, the Middle East that's messing with everyone and distracting them from what's happening in Europe. And that's how they play you. No message is released in the press unless there's a reason for it to be released, either to distract, to divert, or to manipulate. And, we have to be diligent and watch these things. I don't know, when the war is going to end, but if I talk to the people that I know, they're saying another 2 or 3 years, at least in the drawdown, if it, once we get to peace.
Stephen, I recently saw your post where you mentioned the Baltic and Slavic countries. You spoke about the danger of war right here. Why do you think that?
Why do I think? Well, because that's the plan. That's always been the plan. The plan is to have the tripwire, the buffer countries between the East and the West, the Russian and the Western Europeans and America and England. That will be the battleground of any Third World War. That's been the plan since after the Second World War, when they started reforming Europe and NATO and coming around back together. That was the plan. And this is why they had to get the globalist leaders in place in order to support that plan. And that's why in Romania that they played the game. And that's why they played the game in Moldova. That's why they played the game in Poland. They're slowly getting, in Bulgaria, slowly getting the leaders in line in order to say yes. And what happens, they're building up troops all along the border now, all in those nations. You're, NATO troops in those nations. The largest NATO base will be in Romania, and it's and I hate to say it, but I've heard it from certain parties where they say it's the expendable strip of land between the two nations, or the two powers, which is sad because if you ask me, I've lived in 10 countries, Western Europe, Central Eastern Europe, Eastern Europe, and now in Turkey. And I'll tell you, the Balkans, the Baltics, and the Slavic people, they're hard as nails. Very patriotic, love their countries, hard as nails. Don't take any crap from anybody. And that will be used as leverage for them, for the globalists to get what they want in a war. I hope that that all those countries stand up against this, even if their leaders are forcing them to do it, because, well, obviously why? We don't need more war.
Let's go back to the topic of EU, more precisely to its leadership. What do you think about them? What qualities should a true leader have?
Well, we have bureaucrats over statesmen. Weak leadership glorifies compliance. And so that's basically where we are right now. For them, it's about an image and not an impact. They don't care if they have an impact. It's about how they look and what the public opinion is about them. And unfortunately, for them, true leadership is about moral clarity and not managing decline. Because let's face it, that's all they're doing now. They're managing decline of the European Union. What you need is leaders to step up, not care about the status quo, not be bought and beholden by the globalists. Look, Ursula von der Leyen was a criminal in Germany. She did criminal acts in Germany. It was either going to go to jail or go to the European Union. Same thing happened with the Portuguese, the vice chair, the Portuguese prime minister. Same thing, got in trouble with the law. They said, look, you either go to the European Union and do what we say, or you're going to jail. So what else are they going to do, right? They're stuck there. And they're morally bankrupt. They have absolutely no integrity whatsoever. None of these leaders up there in the European Union and Council have any integrity whatsoever, because they know they're lying. We know they're lying. Everyone who listens to them knows they're lying, and yet they have to believe it because that's what they're there for. And number two, there's people that have to believe it because if they didn't, their worldview would collapse. And that's a scary thing for most people who live 9-to-5 jobs, weekends off, vacation twice a year. That's a scary thing when things change. So people hold on to that picture that is not real. And I'm here to tell you, whoever's listening here, that picture is not real. The European Union is a complete farce. It's a money-making machine. It's a control. It's a complete power grab to take the sovereignty away from single nations. Like Orban, if you want, like Meloni, if you like him or not, they're fighting for the sovereignty of their countries.
So, is this the end of the West as we know it?
I think the European Union is going to collapse by 2030. I don't think it can survive by 2030. Even Martin Armstrong says the same thing. By 2030, 2035, it's going to collapse. NATO as well. I think it is the end of that. There'll be new coalitions forming. I think the Balkans, the Baltics, and the Slavs, they should come together and form their own union. And you had some amazing people there. I tell you, I spent a lot of time in Serbia, and I had an organization in Romania. I had the baby cradle Romania back in the day. Spent some time in Bulgaria and Poland. I lived in Poland. Love those countries. Love the people. Solid, easygoing. Matter of fact, funny story. I was in Italy, and 2 days ago, I was in this little village in a little street, and a guy walked up to me and said, "Steven, how you doing?" It was a guy that I hired in Poland back in 2015 to work for me. Happened to be in Italy in a little village in a little street at the same time. And he was like, he gave me a big hug, and that for me, that's a symbolic of that's the people that I love from the Balkan states, the Baltic states, and the Slavic states. They're just real, truly heartfelt people who are hardworking, have a high integrity, and want the best for their country, and don't want to be messed with by the West or the East.
This is nice to hear. Thank you very much. But I have to ask you, you were an American soldier in the war in Iraq, in Operation Desert Storm, right? 1991. You even wrote a book about it. You received a Bronze Star and then left the army. Why? Is that because of the little wounded Iraqi girl who changed your life? Or could you briefly share that story with us, please?
Yes, sure. So I went to war. I was 23 years old. I was ready to go. And I knew when I went to war, I wasn't coming back because we were the front line. We were the cavalry. There was, 5 tanks, 5 Iraqi tanks for every one of our tanks. We knew we weren't coming back. They told us, write your will, send everything home. You're not coming back. And I was fine with that. And I knew that I was going to come back in a casket with American flag, and I was okay with that. So I went to war, and I fought, and I thought, this is what I'm here for. But then I realized what I was actually doing, and I was, you know, I was pushing it down in the back of my head, because if you don't, you could die. If you're distracted on the battlefield, that's the end of your life. Until one time I was at a checkpoint, and this little girl came up in a pink dress, had her hands like this, and she was burnt from head to toe. And I sent her to the medics to get bandaged up. And when she came back out, I just looked at her, and she had the most beautiful smile I'd ever seen. And the reason she smiled is because I got down on my knee and I gave her a little piece of candy. And I remember sitting there thinking, this girl is burnt from head to toe, lost everything she's had, and she's smiling because of a piece of candy. The hell am I doing here? What in the hell am I doing here? I did this. And that was the end of my career. I had to serve for another year and a half. I finished the war off. I didn't fight anymore. It was, ceasefire, and we went home to Germany, where I was stationed. And I started my processing to get out of the military. And I did everything I could to get out of the military honorably, which I did. But that was the end of it. And I swore from that point on, no more of this. I'm not going to support that anymore. But it's hard because it's an identity. Remember, when you join the military in the United States Army, the boot camp isn't about learning how to be a military man. It's about deprogramming us being a civilian. They program you to be a killer. They program you to be an assassin, a murderer, just to go out and do what you have to do without thinking about it. And to get that out of your head is almost impossible. To this day, I still have that programming, that there is no stopping. There is no giving up. It doesn't matter what I do. I fight until I win, period. Whether that's in business, whether that's in a conversation, it doesn't matter. I fight until I win. And that was programmed into us. So there's some good things about that. But a lot of people get stuck in that identity. So when they get out of the military, they can't assimilate. They can't fit, which I couldn't either at the time. It took me about 15 years to get back to being almost a normal person.
Did you feel guilty?
I still do to this day. I think of her every single day since 1991. There's not a day that goes by I don't think of her.
With your experience of war as an American, how do you view the wars in the world today?
I feel, if you look at it tactically and strategically, I say to myself, why are there even people on the battlefield anymore? We got robots, we got drones, we got AI. We don't need people on the battlefield anymore. Why are we sending people into the meat grinder? What's the reason for that? Because of public opinion, because we need heroes, because we need this, oh, look what's happening over. If it was just robots and AI, no one would care. It would just be a slaughter on both sides, and it would be land for land or building for building, but no one would be a hero, and there'd be no personal stories, and there'd be no Zelensky standing there with his, jogging suit on and saying, we will win. Who's we? Your robots and your drones. There is no we, right? And so it's a big show. It's all for money. It's all for power. And it's just more and more and more money being pumped into the military industrial complex. I mean, right now there's a slowdown because of the budget cuts, or because of the, in America, because of they shut down the government because they couldn't get the budget passed. And now it's slowing down. Remember, the fiscal year ends in October. So they have to spend all that money in October, and then November, December, no one spends. January, it starts up again. So in January, when it starts up again, there's going to be an influx of spending, of weapons, of all kinds of stuff going on, so they could get the money that they got last year, this year, because if you don't spend it, you don't get it, right? So it's like this, spending down, spending up, spending down, spending up. And now it's a lull. There won't be much happening right now, but it's starting in January. It's going to start busting up again, and who knows what they're going to do with that. But it's just, God, the Middle East, and then we have 7 wars, and none of them are truly for anything that's real. And excuse me, even if people say, well, Putin did invade, well, he warned 14 years, 15 years, 16 years. He warned, stop. And they kept coming on and coming on, and they pushed it hard. And you have Victoria Nuland. I mean, all these people that just push until he did what they wanted him to do, and they said, "Aha! Look what he's doing. He's a bad guy." So it's all a joke. I'm tired of it. I'm really concerned that the world has become so normalized that people just go about their day and don't even realize that we're crumbling where we stand as sovereign nations.
Does it bother you when people say how many wars your country has started and how it has introduced democracy far away from America?
Yeah, I get trouble all the time from Americans when I talk about this because, sure, when I went into Kuwait back in 1991, I was there to free them from Saddam and to bring them democracy. And in the case of Kuwait, it's a great country. It's safe. There's no wars there now. It's great. Of course, it's occupied basically by the United States. So in my mind at that time, I was like, okay, we did our job. But Libya, Syria, Afghanistan, and the list goes on and on and on. It's worse than it was when we went in, than before we went in. And it's just, if you can't face that because you're patriotic, or if you can't say that because you're scared you're going to lose your job, or you're going to get labeled a hater or a leftist or a rightist or whatever, then you should question your integrity on this. And for me, it's real simple. I get it when a father who works in Raytheon at the Defense Department, and he's making $250,000 a year. He's got a mortgage for a big house for his family, and he's got kids in college. He can't afford to speak out because if he does, he'll lose his job. He loses everything. But still, that's not an excuse for me. That's why I speak out. If I lose everything, which I've lost, I was homeless in 2008 in Berlin, Germany. I didn't have a home. I didn't have money. I lost everything overnight, gone. Right? Lived in my car, in a smart car. I'm 193, 118 kilos. So you can imagine me living in a smart car. But and so I know what it's like to lose everything. But you know what? It was true freedom for me. Because I realized right then, the only reason I didn't move and do what I wanted to do in my life is because I thought I had to do this, this, and that to keep this sacred and to pay for that and to make sure this happens and this. None of it. If we allow ourselves to be programmed by the society around us as saying that you must be obedient or you're going to lose everything, we will lose much more than our house and our car and whatever it is that we're going to lose. Much more.
Let's talk about the USA today. How is life in America today?
Besides the narrative, look, it's left and right are this big. They get all the attention. Real America is right here.
Okay.
I have friends that are farther left, farther right, in the middle, and all of them say the same thing to me, Stephen, keep going. Your message of unity is so. I was in Italy, like I said, and I met these two people, and they were ultra liberal. That's what they look like, ultra liberal, horn-rimmed glasses and the whole works, and little, and they just looked ultra. They talk liberal, they act liberal, and they said, no, we're actually centrists. And what you're talking about is what we need. We need a centrist party. I said, well, a centrist party will get demolished. It will never win. And more people are waking up and saying, wait, I don't care about the far right and I don't care about the far left because that's just labels and press and propaganda. This is America right here. So living in America it's still a great place to live. It's still the land of unparalleled opportunity. It really is. And if I look around, the one thing that happened that was the main thing when I traveled around Europe and I lived in 10 countries was my attitude towards business, towards work, towards contacts, towards building a network. And they said, where do you get this from? I said, that's the American way. That's how we do it every single day. And so I was able to build, many companies and many careers all throughout Europe just from the same attitude I have in America. And that's how it is still in America, except for a fringe on the left and a fringe on the right. They're fringes. Don't be confused because the press is focused on those two fringes. They don't care about the middle because it's not sensational. What's the press going to say? Today was a great day. Mary and Bob went to work and nothing happened. Imagine that.
Yeah. What has President Trump brought to America so far?
Well, this is where some people, will say this, that, or the other, good, bad, whatever. Trump brought courage and disruption back into politics.
Oh,
courage and disruption in a big, big way. And because he threatens the entrenched, the anchored power that's been there forever. So he's a danger. And he woke up millions to sovereignty, the feelings of sovereignty and free thought. It's like, wow, we can actually be the country that I think that we used to be, that I feel that we used to be. And I mean, as an American living in Europe at the time, I was doing the press coverage in Germany on 216 and 220 for the election. And I was excited. I was the only one, in the entire news station that was for Trump. But, they were hating me. But it was exciting. And I didn't feel hate towards the other side. I felt like, wow, now we can show that we are here to save America, to make it, take America back. Take America
Great again.
Yeah, make America great again. But I say take it back from the globalists, from the large corporations, from big pharma, from all these people that are just manipulating the heck out of us and sucking us dry of our energy, our power, and our true patriotism. Because Americans, and look, I don't like, as an American living all around the world, oh, America, America, America. But there's something about Americans, about the way we're raised and bred, the way we think, that we just don't stop. There's no way to stop. We have to go. We have to go. Go, 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 go. No matter what, we never, 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 never give up. And that is something that is truly unique in the world. I mean, I hate like lauding my country like that, because America's great. I was at a 4th of July party one time, short story, in Berlin, Germany, at the ambassador's house, and there was world leaders there, military leaders, about 250 people there. The ambassador had to go somewhere, so they brought the senator in from America, from Kentucky. And this senator, who was never outside of America, started talking about how America, I'm so happy to be in Germany and to see how we saved your country and made you a free society, and how we stopped, we, this whole America saved the planet kind of thing. And it was super embarrassing, because everyone around us were looking like, what's going on? So it's a very fine line between ultra patriotism for a country and we're great and just forget everybody else, as we are the ambassador in the world. That's how I see myself. I'm an American ambassador that goes around the world and shows what the true character of America is, the way I grew up and the way I led. And that's what I'm going to bring back to America.
Speaking of Trump, is his life in danger?
Absolutely. Absolutely, his life is in danger. We've seen it happen already.
Yeah.
And, I actually had a dream about it.
Can you share it with us?
I saw him in a casket. I saw him I saw it clear as day. I was there in my dream. It was so strange. And it was it was surreal, because I woke up, I'm like, did I see that on the news, or is it real, or was it a dream? And it was a dream, obviously. And that troubled me. So I let some friends know, and to let him know, because I don't know what's going on. I'm sure he knows more anyway. But through my advisory to different leaders, world leaders in different organizations, I have contact to just about everybody. So I let sort of my thoughts go, and if they want to bring it to them, they do.
Let's talk about freedom and freedom of speech. Is it still possible to speak freely in the United States today? Or do you see cases similar to some EU countries where people can end up in prison because of a post on social media?
It just happened recently, because someone posted about, but that's just recently, someone posted about murdering someone in America. That's a little bit extreme. Obviously, that's a problem.
Okay.
But no, it's still more free than it is in Europe. I can say that. More free than it is in the UK specifically. And that's a big issue for me, because it's going to go quick. If we don't watch out, it's going to go so quick. Everyone's going to be to the point where you won't be able to say anything anymore. And and that means, put it this way: the UK is the canary in the coal mine for censorship, right? How's it working in the UK? A strong country, sovereign-minded people, fighters from the soul. Like, I know a lot of British guys are the hardest fighters that I knew in the West, and they're letting it happen. So if they let it happen,
what about us?
Exactly. And free speech doesn't mean free speech anymore. Now free speech means approved speech. You're approved to say this. And here's the thing: freedom of speech has to be exercised. It can't be requested. It's got to be an exercise that we do regardless. And I see it on all of my posts. I'm very liberal about what I talk about. I'm very not as in party, but I'm just open. I just talk about what I talk about. TikTok blocks every 10th video, 5th video. They don't recommend it. They get blocked. I get taken down all the time. Instagram, no problem whatsoever. Now I just saw TikTok's banning the emoji with the juice box emoji, because it's like used against Jews or something. It's ridiculous. That might seem crazy, But if a multinational billion-dollar organization is taking down one emoji and they're focusing on that, and that's the world news, what does that tell you? What does that tell you? It tells you we're headed down a path where it's going to get that micro. You can't do this. You can't use this emoji. You can't look to the right when that guy's standing over there. And this is happening. Look, in the UK, 30,000 people a year go to jail for memes. There was a guy that there was a refugee or an immigrant that raped a woman. He got like 6 months probation, and the guy who posted about it got like 2 years prison. I mean, and here they are in the UK. Let's bring in illegal immigration, ruin the country, and then we say, hey, now we need digital ID to control the legal immigration. Make a problem, make a problem so aware, and then produce your own solution so that you
right.
Yeah.
So there's a talk about there's talk of absolute control of each of us in the near future. How realistic is that?
Very.
When you mentioned digital ID.
Yeah. Think of it this way. Right now, you have a driver's license, you have an ID, you have a passport, maybe you got your social security card, you have different bank accounts in different countries. You have your will is over there, and your deed to your house is over there. They're all separate. So if you lose one, you still have everything else. You have one digital ID. That's everything I just mentioned and more, including your medical records, on one digital ID. All it takes is, oops, oh, I'm sorry. There was a virus. You're wiped off. You're gone. It happened in China. You see all those young people? They lost everything because they got wiped off. They were erased. And once you don't have, look, right now, if I lose my driver's license, I just say, hey, I have my passport, and here's, I can drive. This is how old I am. But if I don't have it, if I have that digital ID, including my paycheck and everything that comes through there, I'm completely controlled. And if I step out of line, if I post the wrong thing, if I say the wrong thing, it's going to be gone. And anyone telling me that you're crazy, it's not going to happen, they just need to go to England. They just need to look at what's happening in England, what happened in Vietnam. 65 million people lost all their money in their bank accounts because they didn't get a digital ID. Overnight, money and bank accounts gone. There's actually decentralized banks being set up right now in order to combat this. How long that'll last, I don't know.
You now live in Turkey.
Yes.
Keep hearing that Turkey has growing ambitions, especially toward this part of Europe, I mean Bosnia and Herzegovina. Is this felt by the Turkish public?
No, not at all.
Not at all.
Yeah, this is a very peaceful nation, believe it or not. I've never lived in a safer place, more calm people. I don't see any arguments. I've been here 3.5 years, never seen one argument, one fight, no road rage, no one's, beeping horns to each other. None of that. It's the calmest, most peaceful, safest country that I've ever lived in, by far. And it's great for kids. It's super safe for the kids. They walk down the street 10 o'clock at night. Every adult's watching the kids, make sure they don't get hurt. Everything's fine. Very, very friendly people that care for those, give you the shirt off their back to help you. So no, I don't see anything. I see the opposite, actually, not from Bosnia and everything, but I see the opposite, that there's like Israel and Russia are looking at it like, maybe we should take the pieces back. So I see the opposite. I see that. I've even heard Istanbul is a target right now. They want it back. The Orthodoxes want it back. They want Constantinople back. So they want to fight for it again. And Russia wants to make sure that happens, and they're going to trade off so that they can have the Gulf. And you hear all these crazy stories. We don't know. It's as simple as this, though. It's all distraction. What do we have? What can you do right now as a viewer? I'm talking to the viewers. What can a viewer do right now? Get your house in order. Get out of debt. Get your integrity squared away. Take care of your family. Tell the truth and be honest to everyone around you without being aggressive. Be assertive. Don't be aggressive. And stand for what's right and true. In your family first. Get that right. Get that foundation. Then you have your community. Then you have the wider community. Then you have your state. Then you have your country. And it goes like that. If we all stand, look, there's only this many of them and billions of us. The Berlin Wall, I was there. I was on the wall. When that wall fell, it didn't fall because people were shooting. It fell because everyone walked to the border and said, we're crossing. Stop us. And those 1,000 guards could not stop those millions of people walking across the border. And 40 years of tyranny was gone just like that, because the people stood up. We need to do that. And I don't mean revolution, and I don't mean fight. I mean just stand up and start walking.
Stephen, what can each of us do to make our lives better? I mean, better question, how to stay mentally strong?
Well, in order to stay mentally strong, you have to know what your true identity is, what you're all about, who you are, right? Discipline is always more powerful than emotion. Be disciplined in how you react and how you act and how you're proactive, right? And for me, it's important to be still a little bit every day. Where am I? What am I about? Am I staying in integrity with who I am and what I'm about, right? And of course, true strength is being calm under pressure, not loud under stress. And these are all things that you can do. Look, I'm going to plug my book, Unleash Your Humble Alpha. This is my book. I don't know why it's not there. It is Unleash Your Humble Alpha. And this will give you exact steps on how to get there, where you're clear, you're sovereign, and you're a person who owns their presence and who they are. And when you walk into a room, people will notice you because you stand in integrity with who you are, with your purpose and certainty in everything that you do, and your ability to deploy your genius and your talents in any given situation. And when you're standing like that, nothing can stop you, nothing touches you, nothing hurts you, because you are sovereign in who you are.
Stephen, where can people follow your work?
Yeah, my name's Stephen Eugen Kuhn on TikTok, on Instagram, on LinkedIn.
Okay. Do you have some final thoughts before we wrap this video up?
You know, it's really easy to get distracted. It's very, very easy to look at the big picture and be scared and worried and things. But in the end, what really affects your life every single day are the decisions that you make in your life, in your world. Get your world straight first, and then the world will have the ripple effect going out to get other people's worlds straight. So it's all about you, your family, your world. Get that straight. Everything will be much, much better. And then if you have time and if you have the power, which you will, then you can look outward and try to fix things out there.
Stephen, thank you very much for your time.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Hope this is not our first and last interview.
No, let's make it a habit.
Okay. Wish you all the best.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. Bye.